I'm going to start off with the transformations. I know that we have a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. I also know that we have a horizontal shift of 3 units to the left. And then, of course, the graph is shifted down 5 units. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what HK is. I know that H is going to be a -3, and your K value is a -5. So those are the values that you cannot have. So let's set up the boundaries. The boundaries are x equals a -3 and y equals a -5. Let's go ahead and plot those boundaries. Okay, so remember the x and y intercepts, one of them solving. Uh-oh, that's a little too much. Guys, I'm going to show my work for the x and y intercept down here. So your x-intercept, your y is going to equal 0. And then we're just going to solve the same way. Move the 5 over. And then we're going to crisscross. So remember, we make that 5 a fraction. And guys, just remember, when you distribute that 5 to x plus 3, the 5 goes to the 3 also. So it's 5x plus 15. All right, now we're ready to solve. So move your 15 over. And then divide both sides by 5. So your x-intercept is a negative number. It's a negative fraction. It's going to be -13 over 5. And then the y-intercept, y is going to equal 2 over 0 plus 3 minus 5. That's just going to be 2/3 minus 5. You guys should be able to do that. You can leave it as a mixed number. What's 2/3 minus 5? Remember, you're taking 2/3 away from 5. Very good. -4 1/3. All right, guys, let's go ahead and graph those. Let's go ahead and graph them. Okay, guys. So I am going to plot that x and y intercept real quick, then we'll knock out the domain. So your x-intercept is going to be in between a -3 and a -2. Remember, -10 over 5 is a -2. -15 over 5 is a -3. Just somewhere in between those two. So your x-intercept in between a -3 and -2. Lots of estimation. Your y-intercept is just a little bit after the -4, y'all. So just draw a dot after that -4. And then you can kind of see where your first branch is. Just sketch the best you can, guys. Stay as close to those boundaries as possible. And remember, the missing branch is always on the opposite diagonal. All right, we have a vertical line right here at the -3. That's the only thing you need to block out in your domain. So your domain is -infinity to that -3, and then you just pick it right back up where you left off to +infinity. Okay, so hold on a second, before we talk about the very last one. If you guys remember, I always know when a reflection is not happening because I have an up arrow pointing on the right side of any graph. And that's still the same exact thing here. I have an arrow pointing up to the right side of my asymptote. I know that it's not a reflection. Same when we did the parent function. I had an arrow on the right side of the asymptote pointing up, not a reflection. So over here on number 2, we have a reflection because that 2 is negative. So I am not going to have an arrow pointing up to the right of any asymptote. I have to have an arrow pointing down. So let's go ahead and talk about the transformations here. I'll write them under here. We have a vertical reflection. We also have a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. And then the only other one we have is the graph has been shifted up 1 unit. Okay, let's go ahead and identify HK. Your H value is 0 and your K value is 1. So let's go ahead and set up those boundaries. Okay. All right. Next is the X-Intercept. So we're solving again. So the X-Intercept, again, I'll just write it below my domain blank. The X-Intercept, remember you start off with 0 on the left side of the equal sign. Go ahead and move that whole number over and then change it to a fraction. So remember, we're going to do a 1 times that 2. I'm sorry, 1 times that -2. And then we're going to do a -1 times that x. So again, guys, we get -x to equal -2. So our x-intercept's at a +2. And then again, y'all, for your y-intercept, you're not going to have one. Y'all drew a red line through the y-axis. So this is none. All right, so to graph this, let me go ahead and plot the y-intercept or the x-intercept at the +2. And then, guys, remember it's a reflection. So you have to have a down arrow on the right side of the asymptote, like right next to it. So the asymptote is right here. Here's the right side. I need to draw a down arrow right next to it. So this branch, since it's been vertically reflected, it starts in quadrant 4. Go through your x-intercept. And then start hugging that other asymptote you drew. And then, guys, go ahead and draw the other branch floating up here in quadrant 2. And shape it the best that you can by hugging those dashed lines. All right, your domain is everything except that vertical line. So we're just going to have -infinity to 0 again. And then pick it up from 0 to +infinity.